I've been finding recently a lot of things about drone channels have been irritating me, and I'm going to go over today what exactly those are. Maybe you guys share some of the frustration with me as well. I think ultimately it comes down to the YouTube algorithm, in that YouTube's encouraging you, or encouraging creators to be fairly repetitive, to play it safe. I have got lost at points where I've been doing things like making speculation videos, and the difficulty is people want to see those videos. People want the tech, your audience wants the tech, and it's always going to do really well on the click-through rates. But it's almost like the current drone we have is never good enough. We always want to think about the next thing. There's so many drones now, and we're at a point with a lot of them, especially in the mini-series, I think, where they're going to be very incremental upgrades. They're going to be slight upgrades from one to another. But people get funny about tech. You know, they're like that about iPhones. They've got to get the next iPhone. Got to get, old tech is bad, old tech is awful. And I think one of the dangers with drone channels is that becomes a bit of an end in itself. And even things like the latest firmware updates, you know, a lot of them are not that important, yet we get a lot of clickbait with the titles on these videos, which sort of shock us into watching them, like, must watch, you will die if you don't watch this video. And yeah, that's something that really grates me a bit on YouTube, actually, is the thumbnail titles. They can be overly dramatic, and I know it's part of YouTube, and I know it's part on all channels and everything. It's just a shame where we've got something creative where I want to see more content creators, and a lot of them do. I like to people go out and enjoy and see, and yeah, you can be in the studio sometimes, but not all the time. I think that's very depressing, and I think that gets the beginner a little bit like, oh well, I might as well just sit indoors and update my drone all the time because that's what my guru is telling me to do. That's what the subconscious message is, not actually going out and about.
If you're sick of all these bloody firmware update videos, some bloke in his basement updating his drone, let's try something more artistic. First, we need to find a tower or a statue. Shoot at the first 10 minutes of sunrise or the last 10 minutes of sunset. Don't use undie filters at this time. Shoot in manual mode and keep the ISO at 100, and don't be scared if some of the areas seem too dark. We want that silhouette look. Drone channels often encourage you to light everything perfectly. Sometimes you don't have to. Instead, embrace the negative space. But the trick is not to fly your drone too high, because you want your subject to be partly above the horizon, so it stands out. This creates a really nice contrast, and it does look very beautiful.
There are some drone channels that I do really like. I've mentioned a few times on my channel Philip Bloom. I know he's not really a drone channel, you know, he's a cinematographer, but when he does a review, it gives you exactly what I want to see, and it's in so much depth. And crucially with Philip Bloom is he shows you the potential for telling a story. Yeah, he does talk about, you know, there's noise on this drone and this and that, but then he also gives you an atmosphere. So people watching it say, okay, I can tell my story with this drone, and think about the ambient noise and all those sorts of things. So I think he sort of sets a standard for a drone review. I've mentioned before that I'm a fan of Ted Nemeth's drone content. He's so enthusiastic. He makes you want to get out there and shoot yourself. And it doesn't get bogged down with the specs. It's about the cinematography. I don't exactly teach the same as Ted, but there is definitely some points that we agree on, a lot we agree on. And I think more than anything, it's just the enthusiasm. And I think that's the problem with the guys stuck in the studio too much, is you're just going to get bored listening to those guys, and you're going to want to do something else rather than flying your drone. Stuart and Alina in Scotland with the drone film guide. This is a channel I've followed for a long time, actually. And what I love about their reviews is, firstly, they're raw. You know, they're out in the rain. I remember the Mini 3 Pro review in Scotland, and Stuart was just had a week where most of the time it's raining. They're never pushing a drone on you. It's always, this is what it can do. They'll take some great shots, and I love that they've shot weddings in the past, so you're not just seeing a drone guy for being a drone guy's sake. They've actually had a business. I don't know whether they still do weddings, but it's great. So, I shoot the odd wedding, and it's just interesting rather than just talking about the specs all the time. Philip Scriber, another really good YouTuber. It's a shame he doesn't make that much drone content anymore, but I can understand that as well, why he's not. But I respect that he doesn't do firmware update videos. And there's always like a very cinematic, I know cinematic's an overused word on YouTube these days, but there's always there was that feeling to his Mini 2 videos at the start. There was a class to his videos. Even his thumbnail titles weren't cheesy like the sort of sweetie packets that you see a lot of the time these days. And they were brilliant videos, and I still watch some of them now. And I got on late because I never had the Mini 2, but it's my friend Dave that told me about the channel, and really good. And again, it comes down to that enthusiasm that he passes on that I think is it is the most important thing. It's more important than the settings. A lot of the time it can be quite isolating flying a drone. Your family might not be interested in it. So following a content creator that makes you want to go out there, I think is super important. Anyway, I've done a couple of chats with my friend Dave, who doesn't really have a drone channel, so I want to get his opinion for someone that, I buy my own drones as well, apart from Potensic sent me one recently. But other than that, I've always bought my own DJI drones, so I can relate to you guys. But I do get sent some products, so this is why, can I be as objective as someone who all the time buys their own products? And in that case, that's why I wanted to interview Dave to get his opinion about drone YouTubers. Are they shills? Let's be honest, getting a drone, it's like being a kid again at Christmas, isn't it?
Oh, 100%, yeah.
It is exciting. So I would say we don't want to take out all of the excitement and hype about products. And do you know what, guys? Part of me wishes this was like 5-6 years ago. Mavic Air original came out. Even though that drone by Monday standards wasn't great, that was the most excited I've been since I was a kid again. So to have a little bit of hype isn't a bad thing. It's just when I worry that some channels don't make us enough about the negatives. I'll give you an example. Mini 3 Pro RC1 controller. Who mentioned about the signal being poor about that when it came out?
Me.
Yeah, you guys need to follow guys like Dave with like 10 subscribers. They're the ones that will be honest. It'll take him about 2 years to make his video.
No, seriously, no one really mentioned.
No one mentioned it. No. Everyone was like, get this screen.
It's the simplicity of not having to get your phone out, but
yeah, and it was a new thing, and you have to remember back then phones weren't that bright. But the signal thing it isn't great on it, no. And I didn't hear anyone talk about it, and I felt like real pressure. Get this controller. Something was telling me not to do it.
And you didn't, did you? It's only when you got the Mini 4 Pro, it came with the package.
And it was weird having a drone channel and sticking to the old RCN one.
And it's still a better controller. Like I said, I would happily buy a second-hand one. Bind it, and it's still a brilliant controller. But like Ian said, I got it, and it looks the part, but it's not all about the looks. It's how it performs. And unfortunately, I've had a lot of issues with the signal. And it's quite frustrating, really, because, you'll drop your satellites, but then there's been instances where I've not flown that far. And I'm like, hang on, what's going on here?
Yeah.
I'm like, we're flying in, where was it? Near Snowdonia somewhere. I literally flew for about 50 metres and I started dropping signal. I was like, that shouldn't be happening, especially when they quote, how far that drone can go. It's not the case at all. So again, it's just them saying, yeah, go and fly your drone out like 10 miles. No, don't do it.
And I think this is part of the problem. And again, this comes back to the Lumix, is did those YouTubers, when the RC original for the Mini 3 Pro first came out, had they used it enough? Had they used it enough in cities to be, or was it just...
I'll answer that right now. No. Because they got it and they wanted to film quick content, get it out there because it's out in the system. And until it's a brilliant product, and that's why sometimes you shouldn't trust a YouTuber in some instances.
And it's almost like, the RC2 now, by having the antennas out here, this is an admission that they got it wrong with the RC original.
Or it's just because they want it to be a little bit different. But how have you found the signal genuinely.
Pretty good. But I can already tell you that, and I can hear the rumours now, people will be complaining about the brightness of this, so that'll be the next thing. And, you know, fair enough, because the technology goes on and it improves, etc., etc. So yeah, that would be my take on it, really. Is I think that the best example I can think of YouTubers either not using the drone enough, or maybe being selective over what they say, you know, pick and choose. The RC original controller would be my one. And then I would always say that DJI do release too many drones. I mean, that mini, what is it called? The Mini 4K. It's just a Mini 2, isn't it? Just a repackaged Mini 2. But
just basically don't spend all your time looking at all these different YouTubers, all these different reviews. Just go with your gut. Just get a drone, go out and fly. Just go off the whim. If you don't like it, you can always sell it and get another one. But really, you won't know until you try it. But you just don't waste your time consuming all this content and, you know, being stuck with a decision that you're gonna regret potentially.
And don't fall for the clickbait with all the firmware update videos. You know, must watch. Is it safe? Because they
are enjoyable, then though.
Well, they're good with the ladies, aren't they?
I know.
Dave's been using. Have you been using those lines on the girls over here in Tinder?
Not yet. No,
That's where he's gone wrong. Yeah, that's where he's gone wrong. So want to get the ladies, then talk about firmware updates.
If you've enjoyed the tips today about the sunrise and sunsets, then I've got a separate video as well which goes into more detail about filming at that time of day, which ND filters you use, which times. Ironically, I filmed this in the studio, which is something I've complained about today, but, you know, you've got to do it now and again. So thanks for watching, guys. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in that video.